Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com, and this video is going to be another in my series of RHCSA practice sessions where I'm going to go over an objective and try to explain what it is, how it would actually be used in real life, and try to do some examples. The idea behind that, behind this rather, is it gives me a chance to see if I feel confident in these particular objectives, but prior to taking my exam. And generally by the end of these videos, I have an idea of if I know what I'm talking about, or if it's something I need to go back and review a bit more before I take the actual Red Hat Certified System Administrator exam. Just a reminder, these aren't necessarily designed to be authoritative information for you, but I do try to make the information as accurate as possible. Feel free to leave comments and such. Ask questions if you'd like. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Or if I've done something wrong, by all means leave a comment about that. A, I want to make sure that I get it right. And B, I'm sure anyone else watching the video would want to see the accurate information. Remember, if you enjoy the content of the video, make sure you click like. Also subscribe to the channel, ring the bell when you do so you can be aware of when new content comes available. So the topic for this video is under the Manage Security set of objectives for the RHCSA, and this is configure firewall settings using firewall-cmd/firewalld, which is almost the exact same as restrict network access using firewall-cmd and firewalld, and I thought there was another one. I'm looking at the list of objectives, maybe not, but I just feel like in my last several videos, I've kind of beaten firewalld to death. But I have a little different format, and I'm just going to see the one VM because the things that I want to demonstrate to you are easier seen with the multi-VM setup. So I'm going to go into another VM. You can see my great background. Let me show that off for just a moment. If I do a second desktop, there we go. I'm a big fan of Naruto. So some nice little art there for you. Hopefully I haven't spoiled anything too badly for you, but if you've watched Naruto at all, you can kind of see the writing on the wall there. So in this particular VM, and see if I can make this, I probably can't make that any larger, but that's fine. So let's log in. Oh, try I don't fat finger what I'm doing here. There we go. Sudo-i, and I want to install HTTPD. And while that's going, go into here. It's going to get Firefox happening. These VMs, I don't have a whole lot of horsepower in them, mainly because it is, these little lab VMs that I will blow away very soon. Alright, so that has finished. IP adder show. So this is 116. We're going to go ahead and enable HTTPD. And so this should be going here. Alright, so that failed. Configure firewalls, and it makes sense. Yes, go figure, right? Configure firewall settings. So we're going to do that. Right now it's going to be dropping HTTP traffic. And the reason being for that, if I were to do firewall-cmd, get services, I think is what I want. Of course, that is zone default. Oh, I was expecting that to maybe that's what I want. No, some of these get a little annoying after a while. So firewall CMD zone default get services. Why is it not wanting that? I'll get to do some on-the-fly troubleshooting here. Let's see what get zones. Yeah, that's just going to give us a list of the zones. So firewall-cmd, is it list zone that I want? Alright, let's go to the man pages. Yeah, get default zone. Yeah, get services. And get active zones. That does what I want. And we have list all zone. Suppose info zone is what I want. So firewall, CMD, info zone, default. And well, I can do get default. If I can spell zone. That's public, so let's do info zone public. There, services, cockpit, DHCP, and SSH. So we're going to add, and I'll go ahead and do this. I'll do this just in the runtime environment rather than permanently. Well, no, I guess I should get in the habit of doing stuff permanently because it has to persist on the actual exam. So firewall command add service HTTP -- permanent. It's going to put that in the default zone anyway. You can tell the firewall D commands I use more often than not, and this should allow traffic. Alright, so that's all well and good. Now the things that I actually wanted to demonstrate are the idea of panic state. So let's take a look. I think this will be in firewall-cmd. There we go. Panic on and panic off. Panic mode is, so let's say that there's something going on and all traffic to and from this server has got to be stopped. And notice it says it's a runtime change only, so this isn't something that you can persist. But the idea behind this is, you know, like you would kill SSH, you'd kill everything. This is all traffic has to cease to this particular server. And we can put this in practice here. Let's open up a terminal, and we'll start pinging this server. Alright, so we're pinging away, and we're going to set panic on. So firewall, clear this here, firewall CMD panic on. And we see our ping stopping, and we're going to start seeing like destination can't be reached. I'm not sure how long it takes for that to start to appear. Can't remember off the top of my head. But while we wait on that, we can easily try the SSH. Obviously 117 is not going to work. 116, and that's going to fail. Stop our ping. 68% packet loss, and that's also going to fail as well while this panic is on. So if I were to start this ping again, and this you would have to do from a console, either VM console here, or if we're dealing with a physical machine, the actual bare metal machine itself. Panic off, and once again traffic is flowing. I thought there was another. Curious, the SSH never finished. I thought there was another mode in addition to panic. It's like an emergency kind of deal. Or let's see. Let's check the man real quick. had panic. That's one that I definitely knew of, and specifically what I wanted to demonstrate on this particular video. But I thought there was another type of mode similar to panic mode, but it allowed some type of traffic. It's not locked down. Oh well, I'm forgetting it. The big thing was the panic mode with that, and just showing if you're ever in a situation where you have to just, all right, all network traffic stops, panic mode is the way to go. Now, the last thing I want to show with the configure firewall settings using firewall-cmd and firewall-d, this isn't something I'm super skilled in, but I have a basic idea of how it works, and I'm going to show you how to get your reference material for it. So right now, let me SSH into that, and I'm doing it on this VM so that way it'll be a little bit easier for you to see, because I know old console is kind of mice type for you. And this there we go. So now we're in sudo to root, and there we are. So if I were to use firewall command, and I can hear you now watching the video. Oh, here he goes again. He's going to forget what his little list command is. Well, probably so, but I believe it is get interface. You know, one thing I can do that I think will help. This is something I intend to do on the exam as well. I'm going to install bash completion. Because honestly, in the real world, I'm going to be using that a good bit. Alright, so firewall-cmd. That's what I want. Get zone. Nope. Active zone. That should, yeah, that tells me my interface. So this particular interface is in the public zone, which means it's going to allow some traffic in. One of the traffic that we've added in is HTTP. Now, let's say that I added a source to like the drop zone. For example, if I were to firewall-cmd and then zone equals drop, add source is, let's get the IP address of new tab here. So this VM is 199. Add source 192.168.122.199.32. Alright, and if I were to do firewall cmd list zone equals drop, of course, so list, that's what I want, list sources zone drop. I think that's what I want. Yep, there we go. And so we've added this particular source to the drop zone. Drop zone is literally, it will drop the packets. However, let's go into incognito mode for, I should say, private windows, since we're using Firefox instead of Chrome. Is it actually going to drop the traffic? I'm surprised. Really? This is one of the things I did as a test. Actually, kind of inspired making this video was I did a test and I was able to still load the web page despite it being in a private zone. I mean, despite the interface being in public and that particular IP address in drop. So let's try this again. because now I'm just curious. All right, so HTTP 192.168.122.116. It's seriously not doing it. How about that? Just case in point, let's see if we can just curl that. How about that? All right, so as a test, we're going to remove the source. Move source 192.168.122.199.32 zone drop. All right, let's list the sources for the drop zone. There's nothing there. And let's try curl again. Yeah, how about that? And let's do it in the actual browser, or the graphical browser I should say. There it is. So that actually worked. Perhaps maybe what I did was do it as permanent and didn't reload the firewall. I'm not sure, but I am quite sure I did a test at one point that had the interface in the public zone add a particular host to the drop zone, and my HTTP traffic was still allowed in, and I assumed because the interface was public. Well, in that case, what I was going to demonstrate were the idea of the rich rule. And let's do firewall-d. I think it's rich rule, perhaps? Nope. And firewall-cmd. And I was going to show you the syntax, or rather where you can find the syntax of the rich rules. Yeah, add rich rule. And there's a man page for that. Rich language, that's it. So man firewall d rich language. And what this is, in addition to just for your zone, you know, having individual allowing of certain services and certain ports, you can add a rule that perhaps is going to drop traffic as well. And what I was planning on doing was making a rich rule that would specifically drop traffic from the source of the IP address. So let's see if I can still do that, if I can recall the syntax for it. But let's see what happens. This is a practice session after all, and we should mess around and practice. So what I want to do, since I know the public zone is what we have, I want to do firewall-cmd. Do this permanently. And I'm not specifying a zone because this is going to go into the default zone. Add rich rule. And this should be rule family. I think it's equals IPv4. Source equals 192.168.122.199/299. 199/32 because I'm wanting that. I might not have to do the /32 for that. And drop. Alright, so in that case, let's take away some of these quotes. Let's take away the word rule. Perhaps that is what's causing the problem. Error messages can help you out here. So add rich rule equals single quote rule add attribute source. All right, so let's go back to firewalld rich rich language. Let's see what it has for source. I see. Source address is what I want. There we go. Now, case in point here. Obviously, I haven't done a whole lot with the rich rules. But if I was in the exam situation and I had a task where I needed to write a rich rule, and it's not something that I do all the time, this is the exact process I would go through. And so I guess the kind of the lesson to take away if you're using my videos as some ideas for your own study is make yourself use the documentation. So that way you're comfortable using it and you won't necessarily panic in the test situation. So this rule's been added, and it's not going to be in effect yet because we have not reloaded the firewall. Remember, doing permanent does not put it into runtime. We have to reload the firewall, so we should be able to load our page, and we can. And so now we reload. Now, famous last words in IT, let's see what happens. That's looking good. Now the other thing, I wonder if it'll drop ping as well, which, yeah, it's dropping ping as well. All right, so the rich rule worked, and then I also discovered the fact that just adding it to the adding that source to the drop zone worked as well, despite a test that I did earlier in the week where it seemed like it allowed the traffic. But the more I think about it, I'm willing to bet I must have done that as a permanent configuration and forgot to reload the firewall, which I think anyone, if you've worked with firewalld for any amount of time, that you have probably forgotten to do that as well at some point. So that about covers what I wanted to do with firewalld. Again, it's been hit with at least one other topic video, but I figured it never hurts to do a little bit more configuring with it, just to try different things, and I guarantee you when it's time for my exam, I myself am going to be a little bit more familiar with the syntax for adding rich rules. So as always, thank you for taking the time to watch. Remember, if you enjoyed the content, click like. Also, feel free to leave comments, either questions or critique. I take it all, and if I can make use of it, I do. And for questions, I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Again, thanks for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.